So pretty happy with today's numbers. We had got the pop that we were hoping for. I was about 5 points shy of the really good pop that we got, but generally speaking, not bad altogether today. In fact, really good altogether today. So now what I want to do is I realized that I really felt like maybe I only gave half a story the other day with the real implications for what just happened with these numbers. So I want to give it another try. I hope you'll forgive me for only getting halfway there. But I'm going to look at 23, I'm going to look at 24, and I'm also going to talk about what I think is going to happen with the stock, with Tesla stock, the rest of this week and the rest of this month as we go into the earnings call. Okay, this is Randy Kirk. Hit like, hit subscribe. I will probably have a third video later today. It'll probably be well, I don't want to give it away. So just, hit notify if you want to be notified. This is a pretty cool video I've got planned that I think will still come out yet later today. Okay, let's, and then, these charts, all this analysis that I'm going to be doing now for 23 and 24 and more is up at Patreon. If you want to go and take a look at it and play with it. And right now on Patreon, you get a 7-day free trial. So you could go look at them and you wouldn't even have to pay to look. I mean, you could just copy them off of here, of course, if you wanted to. Okay, let's jump into it here. So, what happened? The most important thing that happened yesterday with these numbers is that we now have 2 million in the bag. And what I showed you the other day was my projection of 2.1 million cars this year, because I still think that's where we're going to go. But what I think would be more important is to look at the fact that 2 million is a lead pipe cinch. I mean, sure, lots of crazy things can happen. But under any kind of normalcy between now and the end of the year, we are looking at an easy get to 2 million. And what you want to do is you want to just look at here. We got the 466 just now, 423. That was like 43,000 more. Well, I think we'll do more than that in quarter three because we're going to continue to ramp the Model Y. So I'm just saying 530, and then another 50,000 in quarter four. Quarter four is usually the strongest. If you want to make the quarter three 520 and quarter four 590, it's all good, but somewhere in that ballpark, the capacity is there. Let's look at the capacity down here just real quick again. Here's Fremont. I've got it at 140 for this month, 150 next month, 150. That's kind of max out, okay? Shanghai, 250, 250. That's maxed out. Austin going from 43. I'm just guessing it was at 43. It had to be more than 43, but for some, maybe Shanghai was less. I don't know. But then going to 80 and then 125, and Berlin the same, 80 and 125. That really doesn't count any Cybertrucks in there. Throw in another 3,000 to 5,000 Cybertrucks if you want. But that's how I get to the 1999. I'm hoping that that's correct. I may have actually not changed those numbers. I'll have to go back and look in a minute, but you get the gist. The gist is this is a makeable, doable, easy number for this year. What also happens is that in quarter four, you're already a run rate of 580 per quarter. You multiply that times 4, and you've got a 2,300,000, over 2,000,003 run rate going into the first quarter of 2024. So to get to 3 million in 2024 is another no-brainer, because you're going to be adding all those Cybertrucks, and you're going to be adding more Model Ys, at least at Austin and probably at Berlin. And maybe you're going to be adding more Model 3s. If the Model 3 Highland is a big hit, you might be throwing in some Model 3s to boot. I think it's going to be 3.1 to 3.2 for 2024, but I'm going to show you in a minute, just at 3 million, what the numbers start to look like. So once again, let's just take a look at this. This is with just 2 million units this year. Again, average selling cost is going to be going up. Why? Come on. By now, you've got it. The average selling cost is going to go up because Model Ys are a bigger and bigger and bigger piece of the pie. Cybertruck's not going to be affecting yet. And even if it was, it would just raise the ASC even more, because the Cybertrucks, the ones that come out initially, are going to be the highest priced models. So anyway, I'm saying that the average selling cost goes up, total auto revenues, there you have it. Margins, I'm saying they're going to go to 21. You can drop that down by a couple of points if you want. I think it goes to 21%, then to 22, then to 23. And then energy profits, I think this is easy. I'm not going to go into the details on this again with you right now, but this is just assuming that that we continue to ramp up the initial location and that Shanghai maybe gets a few units out by the end of the year, but they don't have to get to this number. Other profits barely adding to 1 billion for the entire year. And then additional IRA tax advantages that are not baked into the prices here, there, and elsewhere of a total of a little over, where did I go with it? A little over $1 billion also. Total profits for the year. And this time I've gone ahead and done the after tax. When you do it all said and done, you take the overhead out, you're going to get after tax of $4.79 per share. So let's call it, round it off to $5 at 50 PE. For this year would already be at 250. All of these analysts that were just saying 240 to 260 would say, oh, that's a 50 PE for the current year, not for next year, for the current year's earnings. Now, they're probably not at $5. They're probably at $3.50. The reality is it's going to be way closer to 5 than it's going to be to 350. And I might even be a little low here for various reasons, but we won't go into those now. So that would give us at 50, it would give us 250 or close to 250. At 60, now you're looking at, 270, 280, et cetera, et cetera. And that would be on this year's earnings. All right. I think I'm being fair here. What do you think? Put it in the information below. Put it in comments. I love your comments. I answer your comments. I respond. I love to know what you're thinking about these numbers that I've got here. Okay. Now we want to go ahead and look at 2024. Okay, here's 2024. Don't pay any attention to this thing over here. Just concentrate over here. Then I've shown you this before. This is total cars on the road. I saw a new cars on the road figure the other day, which maybe will cause me to adjust this, but that is roughly how many cars on the road from Tesla each year. All right, so let's look at auto units here. Starting out at 655, I do know these numbers are right. I did go through and fix all of these. So I've got Fremont starting out, at the beginning of the year, just a little bit off pace at 145. And then I'm assuming that eventually Tom Su is going to have an effect here. So I've got him at 160, 160, and 165. Shanghai, I've got him at 1 million for the total year. Could be up or down a little bit. Again, you can't project these things. You can just kind of say, this is what we know. Austin, I've got them starting out around 140. But remember, now we're adding in some Cybertrucks all year long. So by the end of the year, I got them at 280 compared to Berlin at 140. So this is assuming about 140,000 Cybertrucks, maybe a little less than that, maybe 120 with 160, something like that with the Model Ys. And then you can see Berlin getting to a little over 500,000 for the year of the Model Ys. All right, so I don't think is any of that crazy? Is anything out of, I think I'm right here. I think this is okay. Recognize that this also gives you a run rate at the end of the year. Check out the run rate here. At the end of the year, you're at 835 a quarter. You multiply that times 4, you're at 3.4 million, something like that, going into the 2025. Now, to be honest with you, here is where we start running into a little bit of headwinds in terms of the 50% per year. 2025 could be the year that it would be hard to get that 50% increase unless that factory in Mexico slams it like right out of the gate and starts hitting some numbers. You will have increase maybe at 250,000 Cybertrucks. You Model Ys, if they're really doing well, you could add Model Ys out of Austin at least, maybe out of Berlin as well, or maybe some Model 3s out of Berlin. Anyway, there's a lot of ways you can get there, but to go from 3 million to 4.5 million, that's a big get. And I'm saying I can see about 750 of that without Mexico. But where's the other 750? It's going to all have to come from Mexico. Can they do 750 in Mexico in that year? Maybe not. So I'm starting to think that could be the 2025 could be the year that it's not 50 over year over year. Oh, they'll easily do it. with the starting place of 500,000 in 2020, 50% annualized, compounded, no sweat, they'll make that. But I always like to see these 50% year over year based on the previous year. I think that's going to be hard in 2025. So let's now look, though, what does this do if they do 3 million next year? I'm saying that we actually have an increase in the average selling cost because next year is going to be a boom year in the economy. The automotive industry is going to do very well because of the aging of the fleet, especially in the United States. But overall, I think you'll see them raising the prices of the cars. And I think you'll see the Cybertruck at very high levels, very high numbers. In other words, what the price they'll be charging for them will be over this average of 48, 49,000. So that's going to drive the averages up as well. So that's where I come up with those numbers. Margins, I'm saying, starts out at 23. By the end of the year, we're at 24. I don't think that's out. It could be 27. Easily could be 27. Total auto gross margin, just a multiplication. Energy profits starting out at 1.3, where we ended. And then Shanghai should be on board. So getting up to $2 billion in profits per quarter. Other profits, you can see I've multiplied that fairly substantially because I think the used car profits, the charging stations, all this is all going to be going up. It's going to, maybe even solar will start making a contribution. Semi-truck, he says now 2024 at the very end, we'll get a few semis, so a tiny little bit for semis. IRA income that year will be much higher. I'm putting that at 5.7 billion. So now you add all that up together. I do show the after tax. So we're looking at around $10. Now, $10 times 50 PE. Now so if you do the forward PE and you use the 50 multiple, now you're talking about $500 a share, which is, doable, makeable. I mean, that's what I think, I think that's where we should be in January, February. We should probably be there now. And there's no reason why we couldn't be there now if people believe that, if they believe my chart, if they believe what I'm saying. Yes, it could be off. It could be off by a few billion. If it's off by 3 billion, we still would probably come in at $9 a share, and at $9 a share times 6, let's say, now you're still over 5. So at 60 PE. So I think $500 a share is a fair price for the rest of this year. I don't think we'll get there. I think it'll be after earnings in January before we get there. But I think as earnings come out each quarter, we are going to move towards that 400 this year and probably get over the 400. Now, remember, I had all of this going into next year. I've raised my estimated price per share. Why? Because the market has recovered better than I expected. So it is the overall market. It is the macro and the happiness, the good news market right now, the positivity in the market. Now, we're not even in a risk on market yet. This is just the beginning of a bull, and the risk folks haven't even shown up to the party yet. So this is where I think we're going. Where do I think we're going immediately? All right, I mentioned this morning. I continue to believe this is true, even though we beat my number this morning by $5 a share. I think this 279 is fine. I think we will do 285 on Wednesday. I think we will continue to increase on Wednesday. I think during the course of the week, we might drift up towards 300 and maybe hit 300 by Friday. We might have a little back and forth. We could go beyond 300 to 305 on a day. Maybe we'll even stay at 305 on Monday, and then now we're going to be in a trading range. We need to reestablish. Somebody said this morning, hey, we need to backfill because you always have to backfill to the 265 number. So that actually, I was getting a little nervous about my range because a 275 to 300 range, that'd be really small for Tesla. Tesla doesn't usually trade in such a small range. So I'm thinking 265 to 305 becomes a new range, and we might see it go down and test 265 a couple of times between now and the 19th. Where that goes off the table is if there become any kind of hints, any kind of suggestions, anything from corporate or anybody else that says there's going to be a big beat on the margin. People are estimating the margin between 15% and 19%. I'm at 21. That's a big difference. It's going to have a big difference. in terms of how the market feels on the day after the 19th, on the 20th. But between now and then, depending on what the rumors are, depending on what the feeling on the street is, you could see a run up beyond 305. And then if it doesn't hit it, obviously, then you have a bad sell-off afterwards. On the other side of the coin, if the rumors and the attitude stays around where it is now, then I think we do this, what I just said, 265 to 305 range. And then if we get a big beat, because maybe the margins come in at 2.1, like I think they will, then all of a sudden, obviously, we start marching from 305. Here's the fun thing about the 305 to 400. There are no technical barriers again. It's kind of like I told you a few weeks ago, there was no technical barriers between 200 or 217 and 300. 217 was a pretty tough barrier. There was another something around 235, but not much. But basically from 200 to 300, there wasn't much. And we've seen that. We've seen how it's just pretty much run straight up to close to 300. So same thing is going to be true from 300 to 400 to all-time highs around 400. There's no technical barriers. So the barriers are going to be all about execution, going to be about fundamentals. What do people think is really going to happen? And that's two of the videos that I'm going to do. And I might do one of them tonight. I just haven't quite decided if I'm ready to do it. It's going to talk about, what if you just take the lid off of this thing? What if something happens? What if not even if something actually happens with FSD or Optimus or robotaxis or Dojo as a service or not something actually happens. What if the street just starts to believe it's going to happen? So that's one of the videos. Well, actually, that's two of the videos that I want to do. And maybe one of those will be here out later today. So you want to hit subscribe and notify just in case I do that. I will probably do a third video today. It might be on some other subject, but it might be one of those. And then, obviously, I'd love to have you be part of Patreon and go ahead and buy as many books as you like. Amazon will make as many as you order. They just will. Okay. It's been great talking to you today. And that's all I've got.